Welcome to the Mucked Up My Self-Care podcast.
I'm Jill from New York.
And I'm Linda from Tasmania.
We are two moms from opposite sides of the world who are living, demonstrating, and helping moms across the world build their self-care asset bank.
Ready to dive in? Messy, interrupted, imperfect, and most of all mucked up. Let's get going. Hello. Good morning. Welcome to Monday. Here we are again. So good. It's always so good to join you every week. It's really, it's something I look forward to every single time, actually. So, and yeah, hitting record and getting moving with highs and lows and all the rest of it. So, Jill, do you want to go first today?
Sure. So we jump into every episode with some highs and lows, so we give space to the things that we've enjoyed and might not have enjoyed each week. Let's say. And sometimes it directs our conversation.
Yes, sometimes. Sometimes it's very interwoven into all the things.
So let's see. My high is we just finished out summer. Officially moving into back to school season. And I think we've just really enjoyed some of our time together in the last few days of summer and getting things done. I got a new desk, so my office has been moved, and we got to go swimming at my in-laws and had a really fun time in the pool. We got to go to the beach. We had to move my mom from one campsite to another, so her landing location was at the beach campground, so we got to spend some time playing there, driving on the beach and then playing on the beach. So just all around good end to the summer, I think. And then my low is boundaries. It's the reasons why I'm having to create boundaries is yeah, that's my low. There's health issues going on with my dad with his cancer diagnosis, so there's like things circling around him with that. And then there's my sister's mental health concerns that have me drawing up some boundaries and having to almost set the way for the rest of the family to learn how to set boundaries as well, which is a lot of pressure for someone who is, breaking a cycle and laying down a new foundation and stuff. And yeah. And Linda, I know you know the deal.
Doesn't happen overnight either. It really is such a process. And gosh, it's hard work. Yeah.
So that's my low currently, is navigating all of that stuff. But yeah. Highs and lows for you, Linda.
So I'm going to start with my high as well. We were coming back from the chemist tonight in the dark and had a very gorgeous interaction with the possum actually in the tree outside. It went across the driveway in front of the car and then went up the tree, which the boys actually use the tree, the boys and the little girl too now. So the kids use that tree they call it Branchlandia, and they've got a chair in the tree and like a cover over the chair and a little cubby house and like a pulley system and a rope and they've also gone to extremes of creating its own national flag and emblem and like anthem and everything like that. So this possum was making itself very comfortable in Branchlandia. So it was very sweet to be able to see. I didn't get to show the little ones, unfortunately, because they were already asleep in the car. The reason that we had to pop out is actually my low as well. So we had to go out to the chemist to get some more test kits because we have RSV, positive RSV for 2 of the 4 children, and I'm pretty sure my little one has just come off the tail end of it. Luckily, it's not influenza A and B or COVID, but RSV is bad enough, and so just the sickness domino is really tricky when you've got a house full and when you're flying solo and you have 2 weeks of sickness of one kid, and then the next kid gets it, and then the next kid after that. So you feel like you're just sick for months.
Yeah.
Like one's sick, and then the other 3 are fine, and then 2 might be sick, and the other 2 are okay, and then it's just so tricky. And again, a lot of those boundaries, which is what we're talking about today, self-care and boundaries, a lot of those boundaries just have to go out the window, because when you're dealing with sickness, there's just so many things that are harder to implement, and everyone's just coping. Everyone's just sort of concentrating on getting better or resting, or we're watching more TV than we normally would. We're watching, or we're just not. I'm not pressuring the older 2 to do as much around the house and things like that. So there's a lot of that has to be compromised.
Yeah. I also feel that on one hand, so you're letting boundaries slide because you just can't uphold certain boundaries when you're trying to feel better, and just letting everyone just do what they need to, like bedtimes go out the window, because most times they're sleeping during the day anyway. Everyone's sleep is messed up. Like you said, the TV is just going to be something that everyone can just lounge around and try to feel better doing. But then also, on the other hand, you have more boundaries that you set. You're not going anywhere. You're having to stay home, so that way you're not passing that around. That's a hard boundary to implement for someone who's very active out there. Your kids are very much busybodies doing things outside of your home.
And it's part of my self-care and mental health is to get out and see other people and interact and have conversations and all of those things that just aren't happening right now. Like we've had, grocery deliveries to the door. We're not even getting to the supermarket, which is completely fine with me. But it's still that, going out to the park or just a bushwalk, or even things that don't even need to involve. We've talked a lot about how tricky it can be to just be surrounded by housework and mess. And feeling tied down to that, or just that, we'll talk further in a later episode about purpose and what we enjoy and things like that. Housework is not on my list. I do not get fulfilled from housework. Just do not. So, yeah. I've been trying to make sure that I can read and things like that. That's a bit of an escape. But, yeah, it's tricky.
Yeah. And then what you're talking about, so like Linda, reading books is one of your, we'll call it like an inside self-care thing that you do. When you do have that limit of where you can get out to, that is one of your self-care things. But when we drop those boundaries, when we're trying to take care of our kids or ourselves when everyone is sick, so like sometimes, just sitting and watching a movie is going to be the best self-care I can do. But is that the self-care that I can do when a boundary is dropped? Like where are you picking up and shifting our self-care when we don't have those boundaries, and we're now taking self-care things that are becoming normal to do because we have no other options? So, yeah. I don't know.
Mm. And it can be really tricky because sometimes I'm like, right, I've cleaned the kitchen, so I'm going to reward myself with reading a chapter of the book. Okay. But the kids will suddenly, someone needs me to wipe their bum, or like someone's
Interrupt them. Yeah.
smacked into a door, or someone's fighting about the computer games, or like the list goes on. I'm sure you don't need to think very hard about all the sort of things that are applicable for you. But it's like, oh my gosh, this is a need. Do I then say no to the crying toddler who's just hit their head and the other one on the toilet? Do I just leave him there and say, nope, I'm finishing my chapter, I'm setting a boundary? Like, sorry.
Yep.
Because again, we have responsibilities on one hand, but then we're walking all over boundaries on the other.
Yeah. Yeah. I had to set a boundary just the other day with Declan because I feel like whatever he is going through now, which very well may be a reflection of what I am going through, where he's just feeling my energy and throwing it back at me. I don't know. I'm setting boundaries with him because I feel like I'm being walked all over by him. He just isn't listening, and I'm having to raise my voice at him to get him to just stop and acknowledge that I'm asking him to not do what he's doing. And then he gets upset, right? Because that's just how toddlers are. So, I'm now having to set a boundary of like, this is it. We only ask the one time, and if that's not going to work for you, then we just don't do it. Like, we're going to remove ourselves from the situation. And I had to remove myself from the heightened emotion that was being transferred emotionally, energetically between the two of us the other day. And I texted my husband. I was like, I am dropping him off at the house and I'm leaving. I cannot be around him right now. I needed to remove myself from the situation because I was starting to affect others around me from how I was parenting, pretty much. I didn't have to leave, luckily, because he fell asleep in the car ride. So I was like, okay, good. I don't have to go anywhere. Because I had just had like an emotional breakdown driving home. He fell asleep and I was just, okay, now the floodgates of the eyes open up and you can just sit here and cry. But my husband came out and emptied the car, took him out, grabbed everything else for me so I could just do what I needed to do and let the emotions come out. And then I was okay. But you don't want to do that in front of your child either.
Why not?
I do though, but I don't want to answer questions because Declan will ask me, why are you crying? And I'm like, I just don't want to tell you why right now. I want to just cry.
Right now. Yeah.
There's your interruption, right? There's my boundary.
Yep.
But yeah, I'm realizing, especially now with school having first week of school, like what kind of boundaries am I setting, getting us ready for that? Like, thankfully, I was able to immediately follow up with some self-care after this instance of setting the boundary with him and just being like, I got to separate myself and go do something for me to be able to get these emotions out and care for myself for just a minute. But I don't think we were always afforded that opportunity when we set a boundary to compensate for that.
Yeah. And sometimes it's not so much setting the boundary, but it's the follow through and the actions afterwards. And then the holding, space. That's a very overused term, but the holding space for them.
Yeah.
And for us at the same time. And I've got so much to learn in that following up and following through.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, as stuffed up as it is, a lot of boundary setting, in my experience, has been around fear. Like, you will do this thing and respect me, or else there will be
Mhm.
a consequence of blah, blah, blah. Or you will do this thing because I say so, and feeling intimidated or threatened into doing it, not even realizing at the time what was happening. And I think we often do the same with kids as well, of you must listen 100% of the time, otherwise you're disrespecting my boundaries, or you're, it can be really triggering as well. And so how do we then redirect boundaries more to be, around empathy and compassion and understanding and mutual communication and yeah. Yeah. Without burning out in the process as
Right.
well, because it
That
for
follows.
me at the moment, it takes a lot more energy to intentionally have all of those more positive feelings and outward expression, inward expression around boundaries than it does to just be like, right, this is what I need right now. Yeah.
Right, because we could be harsh in being affirmative
Mhm.
when we don't
Mhm.
explain, because our toddlers don't just understand. So we have to bring it to their level, and that does take a lot of brain power
Mhm.
to think about, well, I can't just say what I feel because they're just not going to understand. They don't have this world of understanding yet. So how do I make it easy for a 5 or a 4-year-old to understand?
Yep. Mhm.
Which right there is all the energy we needed to be able to follow
Oh.
through with the boundary we wanted to set.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah.
It's like setting boundaries is self-care to an extent.
Yeah,
We're
well,
protecting
boundaries
ourselves,
essentially.
you're right. But then
Yeah,
how do
because
we
boundaries, I know, because boundaries essentially are helping us take care of ourselves and prioritize our needs, right?
right? It is a form of self-care. It is a way to set up ourselves for self-care. But
Mhm.
but are we really getting what we expect out of self-care from just setting a boundary? And then how easily is it to set up something else immediately after we've set it or practiced following through to go ahead and
Mhm.
do something that does give us the satisfaction of what we think self-care should be. So,
Mhm.
I don't know. This is so complicated.
I definitely don't have all the answers in this space right now. This is,
No.
a
Ugh.
huge learning space for me, and also unlearning space for me, because I know, in the past I have really struggled with, and not only setting boundaries, but setting out boundaries for different age levels and development as well.
Yeah.
So a boundary at 5 is very different to a 10-year-old and a 13-year-old. But then you're also in the dynamics of a family, so it can be really hard to then be
I
like,
mean,
well, no for you, but yes for you, but no and maybe and yes, and we'll
yeah.
see.
And then even more so, I'm learning to set boundaries for a 5-year-old and someone in their 30s and 60s.
Mhm. Mm.
Like,
Yep.
and that, especially
Oh.
when they've never experienced what good boundary setting was in their lifetime.
Mhm. Mm.
And
Oh, so new.
oh god, is it just like easier because you have a 5-year-old and you're raising them then in that? Where or is it just as hard for both because it's like they're learning
Mm.
at the same time? in different life experiences. Like, very challenging. It's all new, and I feel like I'm failing at doing a good job at setting the boundary, because I don't know what to do when I say I've set it and I've communicated that boundary, and we're like with the follow through of, well, then what comes after that we've communicated that there's a boundary. The 5-year-old, especially someone who's living in your house, I know, Linda, you have different boundaries than with the different kids ages in the one house. So how are you keeping track of whose boundary is what, and how do you keep the 5-year-old from thinking they have the same boundaries as the 13-year-old? Like, meanwhile, I have people who are outside of the home from each other. It's easy to keep it with my 5-year-old, but I don't know how to communicate with the 30-something-year-old after the fact. I've just said it and then forget it in a way. And with their kids, we keep working at it. And then with the ones who are in our home, it's like it becomes what? And then you just have a good cry and go walk in the grass and go read a book, go lift some weights. I don't know, like. Yeah.
And then it can happen all again the next day, next week, next hour even.
Yeah.
Like, whoa, hang on a sec.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Then I feel like I'm explaining myself way too many times because my husband might not be around for a boundary. I'm sure even you, Linda, with the kids, you got to tell each of the kids, well, this is what they're allowed to do and not allowed to do. And having them then uphold it too.
Constantly.
Yeah. Right now, Declan wants to be able to do the things that his older cousin is able to do. I'm like, but you're not your aunt's kid. She doesn't make the rules. I make the rules, and that's not okay in this family. Oh, yeah. Self-care. What are we going to do this week, Linda, for extra self-care? Because we both need it. And I have a feeling our listeners joining in with us, cringing as they relate to these boundaries. They are going to.
Oh, absolutely. For me this week, I'm definitely going to do a bit more reading and continue with the declutter.
Good.
That's actually, as much as I hate it, it does actually help with the house, the feelings in the house and the flow of the house and lots of other things. So, yeah.
I think a decluttered space helps us think clearer. So, yeah.
I hope so. Yeah. What about you, Jill? What are you going to do this week?
I'm going to make sure I get to my kickboxing classes, but my last project in this office space is the wall decor. And so that is what I'm going to work on this week, and making that space just more complete. Same kind of way. Like, it just needs to be decluttered, arranged on the walls. And that will just give me something nice to visually see in this room.
Yeah.
And hopefully bring that peace.
All right. So, Jill, until next week.
Yes, we hope you can unstuck your muck.
Bye.
Bye.